Hi, I'm Dave, and welcome to my first video about 5G fixed mobile broadband for the home. The first thing to do is to check which operators have service in the local area. We're looking for 5G service, so here I'm on the EE website checking the 5G coverage, which is shown in yellow. So EE has good coverage of 5G at the moment. We go to the 4G tab, you can see there isn't as much coverage. I don't understand that. For O2, do the same thing, we put the postcode in and check the coverage. And we need to switch to the 5G view on the map. And here we can see that we are just outside the coverage range in a wonderful knot spot. So let's check 3, do the same thing, put our postcode in, go to the 5G map, and again we find ourselves in a knot spot, and that this map doesn't zoom either. Let's check Vodafone, put the postcode in, need to go to the 5G view, it's the 4G view, there is no 5G at all. Now there is a voucher scheme for people in rural areas to get gigabit fibre delivered to your house, and of course our area is not eligible. So let's check cable with Virgin Media. We put our postcode in, select the address, and it's not available. So this is how it arrived in the box. The Huawei 5G CPE Pro in the box there. It came with this toy antenna. So I'll show you what's inside. Okay, in the box we have the Huawei router, the mains adapter, and the SIM card from EE. In this box there is just a flat network cable in there, which I never use flat ones, they don't sit right. The other box from there was the box that the mains adapter was in, and the little flat box that came in the top there was just full of useless instructions that nobody reads. So there's the SIM card, which goes in there as you would expect. Okay, this is the toy antenna that they give you. I say toy because it is a toy. It's not exactly an external antenna. You're supposed to hang it on a picture hook or something. And the cable is not very long. There's the cable there. It goes to two TS9 pin connectors, as you can see right there. And they give you a suction cup type pathetic thing to stick it on the window or whatever. So here we have the Huawei 5G CPE Pro router. It's the first generation version. 3 lights on the front, Wi-Fi, 4G and 5G. Top looks like that. The back looks like that. Show you the model information on the bottom there. There's the IP address, the password, default passwords admin, all the basic stuff. The SIM card is a nano SIM that goes in that slot there. So on the back we have the power connector, an Ethernet WAN port, presumably if you want to use this as a backup to your normal ISP. I think that's a WPS Wi-Fi password type button. And these are the 2 TS9 connectors for an external antenna, which is behind a little poppy outy bit of plastic. So you would need, if you have an external antenna on SMA plugs, you would need an adapter. These are actually too close together to use an adapter plug straight on that. You have to use these pigtail things, which are a pin. There's a very small connector which you can just push these in, but they are a little bit stiff. Doesn't really click or anything like that, like so. Connected to your external antenna. Just to show you the difference between the TS9 connector on the right there for this Huawei router. Those are the sockets right there. Main and div, actually no idea what that means, but I'm using an antenna which is cross polarized, so I guess there's like a horizontal vertical type thing. So two connectors. So the one on the right is the TS9 connector. The one on the left is the SMA connector for the antenna. So this is a female connector that I screw my antenna plug onto. So I'm here in the loft with my Huawei CPE Pro 1. I'm going to try to fit an antenna today, which goes into this port here. I need to use this adapter because they're funny TS9 pin plugs, and our antenna is going to have SMA on it. So we'll do some speed tests and signal tests to see what speed we can get up to. So this is the router admin page. It shows I've got 2 bars 5G signal, and what we do is we click here, we go to optimize location, and we run a test, and it's just going to tell us the level of 4G and 5G signal that we get. So good news, today I'm getting a 5G signal. It's a good day for a test. As you can see, we've got about 30%. Yeah, it's weaker than loft inside. Yes, I know, we've already done that test. This is loft inside, so the signal's gone down. You click that and the bars have disappeared, so you can't compare it. But it was about 30%. So we need to get a clearer line of sight between this thing and the mast in the town centre. So the town centre would be roughly that way through the loft, which we'll have to go through the roof. If we go this way, if we were to go this way, this is south, and here we have a window, so I can see outside the lovely view, but unfortunately that is the wrong way, so no point in sticking it out the window. We need to go through the roof and put an antenna on the chimney, and we're going to try to put the omnidirectional antenna on the chimney stack, which is up here. It's the existing TV aerial. So this is the 5G omnidirectional antenna, which looks very directional. That's the back of it. That's the mounting plate. This is what's going to go on the chimney stack, and it will slot onto that bracket there. Show you what it looks like. Looks like that on the front. So we'll have a go at mounting it on the chimney stack now.
Brilliant.
This is the cable coming down from the antenna through the loft, and we can see we've got good speed results there, 101 megabits, and we've got the 5G light on, about 7 megabits upload, and the signal strength of 5G being 95%. However, for reasons I would understand later, my happiness was short-lived. As you can see, I lost the 5G signal and my speeds dropped significantly. And doesn't matter what I did with switching bands on and off, I could not get my 5G signal back. It kept switching masts all the time, even though my antenna was pointing at the 5G source. What was the reason? Because the signal strength from the 5G mast was weaker than the signal strength from the nearby surrounding masts. After switching bands lots of times, the router got its knickers in a twist, and the only way to fix it was to log into the router console and restart it. It turns out that the ports on the back of the Huawei CPE Pro 1 are for an antenna which connects, or rather points to, your 4G source, not the 5G source, which is much weaker. This means that the antenna I've connected isn't being used to collect a 5G signal, but only a 4G signal, and it's an omnidirectional one too. So what it's doing is just flitting between different 4G masts in the immediate area. It's not locking on to my 5G source. To make matters worse, it transpires that the 4G source is different from the 5G source. 5G is coming only from the town centre mast, which is about 1 kilometre away, thereabouts. But 4G is coming from a mast in a different direction entirely, on a different mast. So, which signal am I picking up with my omnidirectional antenna? To find out, I use this crowdsourced website called Cell Mapper. It shows you where the masts are once you filter by operator. Then you can see the broadcast sector from each point. It shows you the broadcast frequencies and the angle and which direction the beam is facing. So with this we can work out what's happening. I also recommend using this tool called LTE H Monitor. It's from a developer in France. You can use it free of charge, but you can't save any preferences or settings. I bought a license. Here we can see that it's currently connected to band 3, and the ENB ID tells you the site. This corresponds to the mast you see on Cell Mapper. The speed of band 3 is not great, it's usually about 30 megabits. Notice that the 5G frequencies are blank, they say 0. That means there is no 5G connection. You can switch the bands on and off with this tool, and you can also change the upload band, which is the one that is like the main governor for which mast to connect to. Band 20 is useless, it's a low frequency band and therefore low throughput. It's always worth turning that off if you're going for speed. You can select your bands on and off and click apply. It tells the router to switch off the various bands that you don't want. Then you see that it switches mast. Now we're connected to band 20, even though we told it not to use band 20. And it lost the upload band. These are all the problems I was having. So again I reselect my bands. Sometimes you end up with nothing, no signal at all, even though your antenna's facing the right way. It just won't lock onto it. Sometimes it locks on later, or changes in the middle of a speed test. It was just useless. Very slow speeds. Several times it got its knickers so twisted up and it wouldn't connect to anything that I had to just log into the router and do a factory reset and start again. One of the problems is it turns out that running LTE-H monitor prevents you from logging into the console at the same time, because the router only allows one login and LTE-H monitor takes a login. Here we reset to the factory settings and the router will go down and come back in a few minutes. After a factory reset we get lucky and we get some decent download speeds again as it connects to the right mast and it gives us 5G. Here we got up to 100 megabits, 112. When it works, you should check the ID. Which cell is it actually connected to? Here it's showing that the site is 31180. That's the mast just behind me, and I'm connected on band 3. But you see the band 48 is shown there, 3560 MHz. That shows that we do have a 5G connection. After doing a bit of research, what I found out is that that particular mast is behind my house to the left, but the 5G mast is in the town centre. So it needs to connect to both simultaneously, but they're in different directions. And the Huawei CPE Pro 1 only has one set of inputs for one antenna. And that antenna is the 5G antenna. So that should be pointed towards the town centre. But what I really need is the ability to connect another antenna, which I would point at my local 4G mast to get a good signal. I need to try to avoid the constant flitting between masts because it interrupts my connection and sometimes I lose the 5G link and I lose the good speeds I was getting. Here on Cell Mapper, that mast you can see on the left, that's where my 4G is coming from. Band 3. 1800 MHz or thereabouts. You can see it also shows the bands on Cell Mapper, bands 3 and 20. But probably we switch off band 20 because that's 800 MHz and we don't want that because that's going to pick up far away masts. So 4G needs to point west and 5G needs to point north. But even if I had two different antennas to point in two different directions, I'm stuck with this router. I can only connect a 5G antenna. I'd like to conclude with what we've learned with this dive into the world of 5G. Depending on where you live, there may be many masts in the area, but often only one mast is activated for 5G. The other masts in the area only do 4G, but they have a special link up between the 4G and the 5G master. This is called an ENDC link. In order for your 5G connection to work, you need to have a strong 5G signal, but also you need to have a strong 4G signal from a mast which is linked to the 5G one. If your nearest mast is the 5G one, you won't have a problem, but if your nearest mast is not the 5G source, then you have a problem with the Huawei CPE Pro 1. In summary, the problem is that you cannot connect a separate 4G antenna to this router in order to control where you get your 4G signal from. So unless you live in a town or city centre, the Huawei CPE Pro 1 is not going to work for you. Take a look at my new video about the Huawei CPE Pro 2, which solves this problem. So this thing is going back and there is my detailed letter explaining why. So goodbye to the Huawei 5G CPE Pro.